Hello everybody, my name is Kalamachi. I am the Public Outreach Officer for the Professional Asian Pilots Association, UND chapter. I'm originally from Hanakpipik, Hawaii, and yeah, and I'm joined with a very special Hawaii pilot as well.
Hi everybody, my name is Carly Namihira, and I am originally from Aiea, Oahu, Hawaii. So look at us, Hawaii in the house. We made it all the way to Grand Forks, North Dakota. Yes, we did. And I'm very excited today. I am currently a first officer for United Airlines on the Boeing 757 and Boeing 767 based in Newark. I am a very proud member of all of these organizations that we have here representing today, and I am a proud, we're currently president for Professional Asian Pilots Association National. So I am ready. Are you all ready? Did you guys practice? It's okay. Don't be nervous, because I'm a little nervous too. But I know today we are going to hit these students with very, very tough and very challenging questions. So I'm excited. So I guess just to kick it off, if all of you want to go down the line and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, if you guys weren't here earlier for my introduction, my name is Skyler Baquero. I am from California. I'm in my second year here at UND, and I am current president of the UND chapter of Latino Pilots Association.
And for those of you who missed it, my name is Thomas Bullock, and I'm the vice president of NGPA. I'm my third year junior, working on my commercial ratings and complex endorsement. And I just want to thank you all for being here, and big shout out to Matthew Bednar's not with us right now for an injury. So we're all thinking about you, Matt, and thank you for your dedication to NGPA as president.
Hi, I'm Grace. I am the current OBAP here at UND, OBAP chapter president. I'm originally from Tampa, Florida, and I am actually currently about to leave to go work instruct.
Hi, my name is Maho, Tsukamoto. I'm the currently president of Professional Asian Pilots Association, UND chapter. And I'm currently senior major in commercial aviation, and I'm originally from Tokyo, Japan. And I'm so excited. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak up today. Thank you very much.
Hi everybody, my name is Becca, Briest. I'm from North Dakota, and I'm in my fourth year doing commercial aviation, and I'm just so happy that you can all join us today.
And thank you so much for all of our student leaders that came here and joined us today. Just to kick it off, I guess, my first impressions of UND, I did not even know that where North Dakota was on the map. So I kind of want to hear what was your first days, looking back at your first days at UND, before you came here, what was your impression? And was it exactly what you, was expecting, or what surprised you, if any of you can answer that?
So going back to my freshman year, so before I came here, I was so excited to attend UND because aviation industry is such a small one back in Japan, and I was so excited to be to pursue aviation program in the States. And then also UND is very well known in school for its aviation program, and so I was So UND is a well-known school even in Asian countries. So I was expecting to to exist more diverse and international community. And then so that's why I was so excited to be here. But unfortunately, my first impression at UND was much less diverse and international than I expected. I'm trying to make my stories be not be too sad, but so I was expecting to be more diverse and international community, as I stated. But when I came here, there is a quite few Asian like female pursuing like an aviation program here at UND. There is no Japanese female besides me. There is no like Asian community here at UND like Papa as we have right now. And what was much worse was during the first semester in the college in the States, I had no academic advisor. So I have no like family members in the States too. So basically there is no like one that I can rely on or even ask questions how to enroll the classes in the States. And I didn't go to any schools before I attended UND. So my first impression was, unfortunately, I felt so excluded, and I feel like, okay, I was not able to belong here. That was my first impression at UND.
For me, being from North Dakota, I had always kind of dreamed of going to the University of North Dakota. So going into it, it was kind of what I expected. I'm used to the winters. But I joined UND when COVID hit. So my entire freshman year was all over Zoom, which was not very fun. But besides COVID, it was everything I expected and more. I knew going into aviation that it was going to be a male-dominated field and it was going to be a lot less women than it is men. But when I actually started going to classes, we were in person and I would walk in and I would be either the only woman or just one of maybe 2 or 3. It was definitely discouraging, and even though I thought I belonged here going into it, being by myself in these classes, just surrounded by men and nobody like me, was definitely not what I expected. And it was definitely lonely, so women in aviation definitely helped me with that.
It really seems that the lack of diversity here at UND, granted COVID did not help anything, but also it does create that sense of isolation that not being able to belong in a community where you believe at the beginning that you could belong in, right? You wanted to be a pilot, you thought you believed before coming here and you deserved to be in that cockpit. And then your impressions have changed since then. So I guess this is a question for all of you, but how do you navigate the lack of diversity and inclusion at UND?
Yeah, so I guess I can take that question. So I'm going to take the easy answer from you guys, sorry, but I've really found it in getting out there and joining these groups such as LPA, PAPA, and all these other affinity groups that we have on campus. I think that surrounding myself with people that want to understand me and my culture, not even people from my culture, but people that are just willing to try to understand my background and my culture and what I grew up in a place that's not very diverse, is where I found how I've learned to navigate a lack of diversity at UND. And now that I'm in these circles, one thing that I'm constantly promoting or encouraging open dialogue, right? Because with open dialogue, you have the opportunity to hear everybody's story, the challenges that they've gone through, and from those challenges we can create real change. That's what I got for that.
Yeah, so the way I navigate lack of diversity at UND is through my affinity group, UND NGPA. So starting off, I know what it's like to be isolated in the aviation industry. I did a lot of flying in Colorado prior to my attendance at UND, and I know what it's like to be singled out. I know what it's like to be alone in a dominated field with a lack of diversity. And so the way I navigate that through my affinity group is I ran for vice president. And so what I do when I see people, such as students who don't seem like they've found their calling, who seem lost or confused or even isolated, I'm able to go up to those students and say, hey, my name's Thomas, I'm from NGPA, we'd love to see you at one of our meetings. And basically, when they show up to those meetings, it's a real sense of belonging for everyone, and so no one feels isolated, and it really brings us all together as a group, which is one of NGPA's core values, so I think that's fantastic.
I'll kind of take like a different approach on that. In terms of like how do you navigate it, I would say a big thing is building a community here. Yes, our affinity groups are great. It's a great place to have a safe space on campus, but it's also good to have people on the outside that are able to support you. So having faculty members and advisors and other people that are real adults in the community, because if you're in college at our age, we're like not real adults, guys, is like really understanding that, these people have experience, they may not completely understand, but they can empathize with you. So I think, making sure to build a strong community of people, of advisors and faculty members. It might be somebody who's like not from your major, maybe it's someone from the other side of campus, but still having that and then using them as a resource and a tool while you're here away from home.
So to me, it's pretty tough for me to be here when I was a freshman and sophomore. But what I can say is not to be afraid of being yourself, and then put yourself exposed outside, and then go make new friends, and then join student groups like here we ask. And for me, when I was a sophomore, UND chapter was founded, and then I was so moved. I got so emotional to be like, okay, I feel like, okay, I found a home, like second home in the States. Staying away from Japan is quite a tough thing to me because I was born and raised in Japan like for 20 years. So, and then English is my second language. So I was afraid of being judged by be like Asian, be female, be international student, and some people might consider non-native speaker as like disadvantage, but for me to like get involved in student organization is help you out to be more open for everyone, and then to be accepted.
For me, I think I just kind of threw myself in. I got super involved and joined organizations, and then finding people that I could go to women in aviation meetings with, get super close to them, eventually get a leadership position and just work from there. And then helping other people as well, seeing other women, going up to them, inviting them to the meetings, inviting my classmates, stuff like that, is kind of how I decided to do that.
That's very interesting. One thing I do see all of what's coming out for a lot of you is that you're very prideful and you found a home, in a lot of these organizations. And I found a home as well, in not only PAPA, but also OBAP, Women Aviation, LPA, NGPA, such as Skies and stuff, and ISA. And, I think for us is very important, but I think what's interesting is I always get the comment from a lot of people that's not in these organizations that always tell me, hey, I really truly believe that these organizations actually segregate the industry more. So what are your thoughts, I guess, on this belief?
Yeah, so I can answer that question. So I believe that the notion that these affinity groups, NGPA, LPA, OBAP, PAPA, and other affinity groups of that fashion, I don't believe that they segregate the aviation industry. So my reason behind that is primarily because, segregation. So, sorry, I'm kind of trying to think of the answer here. So let's say an example. So sending the right message. We're representing underrepresented groups in the aviation industry where we know there's a lack of diversity and we know it's a dominant industry. So, for example, when I represent NGPA at certain events, UAA, Palm Springs, or even non-NGPA sponsored events, I go up there and it's all about sending the right message to someone who doesn't know about NGPA. Sending the right message, not pushing their beliefs. And that's where I want to bring up moderation. Not throwing beliefs on someone, but mentioning your affinity group and advocating for it when necessary. Because when you throw your beliefs on someone, they tend to overlook what's important, and I don't believe that's correct. And, one thing I really want to touch on is NGPA's core values to build, support, and unite the aviation industry. And based on what I know, I don't hear segregation or affiliate segregation with any of those terms. And that's really what I'm looking to do, is build, support, unite, and not tear us apart. So, and one more thing I'd like to mention, as we talked about previously, NGPA is not just for those in the LGBTQ+ community. We welcome all who believe LGBTQ+ should be in the flight deck, should be behind the controls of an aircraft. We're not all LGBT. We're an advocacy group, so everyone's welcome. So I just don't see how that segregates anyone.
First off, I think this is an excellent question. I think it's something that we don't talk about quite enough. And I'd like to, I guess, preface by saying I can totally understand from an outside perspective how it may seem that groups like this segregate, but I totally disagree. I think that the goals of these organizations, rather than to segregate, is to reach out to these underprivileged communities or minorities. And I'll say anybody who's ever been a part of a minority group, whether it be because of your identity, gender, race, or ethnic background, understands what these groups are trying to do and understands that we try to do nothing but promote diversity and give a platform for those who previously haven't had a platform in the past. What we try to do is present opportunity. Opportunity for those like my father, who always dreamed of being a pilot, but because he grew up on the east side of Los Angeles, never had the opportunity, never knew that the opportunities existed beyond whatever was directly in front of him. So this is about showing the communities that there is an open door invitation in aerospace, that they have a place in aerospace, that this industry is somewhere where you can pursue your dreams and you don't have to give up on them, and you can create stability for your families, and you can create a legacy in aviation. And I'm so grateful to be in the position where I am, where I do have these opportunities, but there's too many people before that have come before me, or even are going to come after me, that don't have the opportunities, or haven't had the opportunities like my father and my grandfather, and have had to give up on their dreams. So to answer your question, no, I absolutely disagree. And I think that anybody who truly wants to understand and really just be an ally more than anything else can see that there's knowledge and there's power and that there's growth in introducing and in integrating rather than segregating diversity in aviation. And I guess I'd like to leave on the note of LPA's kind of motto, which is Unidos Mejores, which means united we are better. And that's just the reality that united we are better.
But yeah, I definitely agree with that in the sense that, we're not here to create different groups to make groups, like to create support groups within ourselves. We're here to create a community that involves everybody, not just the Asian community or the gay community or the black aerospace professionals. But it's definitely an outsider view for people to think that. But however, within our groups, what challenges do you see within our communities or our affinity groups? Anyone can answer this.
I'll go ahead and start off with this one. I think some of the challenges I think that we face sometimes can be within your own group, people who identify within their own group. I think sometimes if you get caught up, especially being a minority in an industry that has been dominated by white males for so long, it's easy to get sucked into the idea when someone tells you you could never do something and you hear that your entire life, you start to internalize it unless you have an outlet for it. And I've seen it within the black community, I've seen it with other women, where when you start to internalize it, you're like, you start to have a little bit of sentiments, like some anti-black sentiment, and that can sit in any group, where you're like, I don't need this, I did this before, I've done other things on my own, I don't need this support. And I think it's a challenge that every group has to find a way to overcome. And I think it's just really unlearning a lot of things that have been said and, overcoming those barriers. And once you overcome the barrier, being able to say, hey, helping the people that are there, that are still stuck behind the barrier, being, hey, I can't do this. This isn't for me. The opportunities aren't meant for me. And just really breaking down that wall.
Yeah, going off of what Grace said, I feel like that's definitely the case with all of our affinity groups. As a woman constantly being told, we're wrong in the cockpit for years and years, and now we're finally there, and we're getting our numbers up and everything. it's definitely hard to break down that barrier and feel comfortable with that. So kind of just building each other up, breaking down those previous barriers and growing with that.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to add to that, two things actually. One of the big problems in NGPA that we have on campus is being affiliated with NGPA. People think that when I show up to meetings, I'm outing myself to my community, my aviation community here at UND, and that's just simply not true. You know, like I said, we're here for allies, we're here for everyone, so we're not necessarily outing someone in a sense. And one other thing I would really like to touch on is, so people show up to these meetings, right? And my biggest pet peeve is when they look at me and they either tell me or I either find out that they're there for the resume builder. And you know, I understand that it is a good resume builder, but that's not really what we're looking at here at NGPA. We're not necessarily trying to build our resumes. Personally, I'm passionate about what I do. I sparked a passion for LGBTQ inclusion way back in Colorado. I affiliated with Wings Over the Rockies for a while, and through that I was able to find some students who are either part of the LGBTQ community, or find students who are women, who are black, and all of those people who are diverse. And there weren't a lot of them, granted, but we were really able to connect. And that's where my passion kind of sparked for diversity in aviation. And you know, through that, at Palm Springs, at UAA, on all these conferences, I'm able to state my mission clearly, and I'm able to be passionate about including everyone in aviation. And so when someone says, I'm just here for the resume builder, or when someone asks me, I'm just wanting to build my resume, what should I do in NGPA? That just doesn't sit well with me, because it's almost invalidating. So that's a very difficult thing we're facing, and it's not common, but it happens. So.
I guess to add something real quick. I feel as if I'm second generation Hispanic, right? My grandfather immigrated from Cuba, my grandma immigrated from Mexico. And when I came here, it was kind of my first time. I mean, I was in the military for a little while, but I was always kind of still surrounded by whether I had my family or my military family. And when I came over here, I kind of had neither of those, and I sought them in these affinity groups. And for me, what I came to realize is I had this kind of like self-view of myself that I wasn't Hispanic enough because I'm not fluent in Spanish, because I'm not this, because I'm not that. This laundry list of things that you can stack up. But I think the reality of it is this, that if you are somebody who has a fascination or wants to understand the culture or anything along the lines of that, you are welcome. By all means, you are welcome. And I think that it's too common over here. I'm not Latino, or I'm not a pilot. Why should I join Latino Pilots Association? Well, the reality is if you, like I said, want to learn more, if you want to be a part and you support Hispanics and Latins in aerospace, you should be a part of our group, because that's what we need. We need more people who are willing to try to understand us.
Yeah, I guess something, Skyler, that you brought up that was really interesting that made me think about it is kind of being a part of these groups. People always say, oh, do I need to be Asian to join PAPA, you know? No, it's not necessarily you need to be Asian. Do you believe that Asians should be in aerospace? Do you believe that Asians can be a pilot? Yes. Do you want to see more of that? Yes. Okay, then join this group, you know? That's my little speech. But I guess, is there a lot of faculty in here? I want to just double check if there's faculty. Raise your hand. Okay, I am excited to ask this question, and please pay attention and don't be shy to answer this question either. But you know, for all of us, we did go through a lot of struggles at UND, and I know UND is doing such a great job in trying to, you know, advocate for us and put on these types of events such as Faces of the Industry. But do you see that? I guess what are areas and changes that you still can see that, you know, UND can do a little bit more to improve the diversity, equity, and inclusion, and accessibility for that matter?
I would say starting with the big thing, just because we have affinity groups does not make the school diverse. Anybody can have any group, and you can say it does not mean that it's not our job as people of color to educate. And I think that's a very big thing that's often missed, and I feel like it's missed in corporate when you talk about DEI initiatives. You know, we've all seen how DEI initiatives have become a hot topic over the past couple of years, and a lot of it, you see a lot of it's performative initiatives. You know, I want to see more of what's happening. And I'd say, by my time at UND, I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of really good changes, but I've also seen a lot of things that I'm like, this could be done better. And I feel like it goes from an accessibility way all the way to just not saying this behavior is okay. You know, there's a lot of times you hear about sexist comments, racist comments that are being made, things that are coming from other faculty members. And it's like, what is being done and what are we seeing? Most of the times you're seeing nothing. We're hearing the comments. What happened? They get a slap on the wrist. You hear it on the flight line. Oh, my instructor said X, Y, Z. What happens? Oh, just switch instructors. But what does that change? It does nothing. All it does is put the student, and it puts the student makes the student responsible for reporting. And it should not make any student of color or any woman or any other minority responsible for the actions of the person that's doing it. So I think that's something that needs to change. It's not going to happen, you know, overnight. It has to happen, you know, it's going to happen slowly and throughout the industry. But I'd say that's one way that I've seen over the years a lot of behavior being slapped on the wrist. It's okay, and it's really not. And it even makes from not even being okay with someone's pronouns. If someone says, please use my correct pronouns, it does nothing to use their correct pronouns. And I think it's acknowledging the behavior, doing something about the behavior, and changing. I'd say another thing is just making our classrooms more accessible. Aviation is not accessible. I think we can all see that. And accessibility doesn't necessarily mean like mobility, but also, hey, do you have a learning disability? Do you have some type of, you know, illness? Mental health. I think we've all talked about mental health, and it's not. We have made very little change of making the progression in mental health, and I think there are a lot of things that UND's done great, especially like having Uplift, which is a great start to seeing the change. But there's a long way to go.
Anybody else?
Yeah, anybody else?
No? So shy?
I mean, I'll build off of Grace. I definitely think that, especially with the sexist, racist comments, like, it doesn't seem like much happens besides, like she said, a slap on the wrist. So kind of just taking the things students say seriously, kind of reconsidering, shifting our minds, shifting our thinking, acting on the things that they say, and just listening to the students more.
I mean, definitely as a student of color or, you know, of an underrepresented group, we do have those, we are on the receiving end of those microaggressions and, you know, and biases. I did want to, however, like, switch gears a little bit on this discussion, but almost everyone in this group has gone to an affinity group conference, whether it be the Papa Expo, the LPA conference, OBAP, etc. And so, you know, after attending one of these, you know, how did it make you feel, and what did you learn?
Yeah, so I could probably start this one off. So I, first of all, started with NGPA's Palm Springs last year. It was one of the events I attended. And that was really empowering. It was really nice to see other LGBTQ plus individuals in a similar boat that I am. You know, they know how it feels to be excluded or be isolated in a dominated, non-diverse industry. And it's really nice to meet new people as well, network with airlines, and it's just fantastic. I think everyone should go. But something else I want to touch on, I got the opportunity to attend the University Collegiate Aviation Association's conference in St. Petersburg, Florida. And the thing that was very unique about that situation was it was not an NGPA sponsored event, and I was there on behalf of the NGPA. And through that, I was able to network with other chapter executives, such as vice presidents, presidents, secretaries. And I met two very unique individuals, and we all got to learn more about each other, about our backgrounds, and what we've all experienced both as individuals and as chapters in our aviation history. And one thing that really, really touched me was that each chapter was in a different phase, essentially. You know, for example, UND has been here for a while, and we have certain standard procedures that we follow, but certain chapters were just starting up. For example, Middle Georgia State was one of the unique ones, where one of their officers would come to me and she would ask me, hey, what do you do? What does UND NGPA do? And I would give her advice. And, you know, it was very nice to kind of compare notes on that. And another very unique individual I had the opportunity of meeting was the president of Middle Tennessee State NGPA, and it was very. He was in a unique situation as well, kind of learning how to work with the chapter based on the local surroundings. You know, we're all in very different settings, different parts of the country, and the culture varies. So it was just very unique hearing from all that. So I think people should look forward to attending these events, not only for the networking, but to learn more about other individuals and really get to know the people around you.
Okay. Yeah, so I had recently just got back from my first expo, LPA, Landing Aerospace Expo, and I had an incredible time, first and foremost. So the short answer is absolutely incredible. It was a great time. The long answer is, it was the first time that in aerospace that I've ever been in a room full of people where I had one thing in common with everybody before I even met them. And that one thing was either they wanted to understand my culture or they were from my culture and my background. And I think that was absolutely incredible. And it was even so much more of a better experience because I was able to be there with my chapter, with my officers from my chapter, and kind of just be there with them. And kind of all I have to say on that. It was an incredible experience. I really hope that if you guys, it was networking. Some of the panelists that are here today, actually all the panelists that are here today, were pretty much all met through networking from these expos. So it's created an incredible network for us as students that we can reach into and really just have people to look up to that are in the places that we hope to be someday.
And sorry to interrupt, one more thing I'd like to mention is going to these expos allows you to be authentic and be yourself. And we know in our surroundings, it's very hard to be ourselves sometimes, especially in certain parts of the country where the cultures may not be accepting of X, Y, and Z. So really just being authentic and being proud of who you are, it's one of the many perks of going to these events. So I just thought I'd like to point that out.
So Papa is a very young organization, young history organization. Papa National founded back in 2017, and then Papa UND chapter was founded back in 2020. And then this year we had second annual Papa Expo this May. And I went last year and this year too, but this year I feel more welcomed and accepted, especially by people who have similar backgrounds and similar experiences that I've been through. That motivate me to not be afraid of be myself and get through any challenges that I might face. And then one thing that I liked to attend to the expo is you can benefit from learning from all of the unique perspectives and point of views from any aviation industry, like US, commercial aviation, general aviation, all of the aviation industry. And also that provides you the opportunity to understand what really you want to be or what really you want to become. Here at UND, I'm gonna be honest. There's a hindsight / the misconception that if you start once you start your aviation program as aviation degree as commercial aviation, you have to be an airline pilot. I believe that is not true. We had two panelists today, and then some panelists were talking about this. But I agree with you can choose whatever you want to do. After starting a commercial aviation or US major or aviation management, you can change your major or you can shift your career if needed or if you really want to turn something else. So attending the expo, attending to the expo makes you feel make you realize, okay, this is what you want to do. So I found it very interesting, and then too beneficial. It's very beneficial for you to come over to the expo and to meet a lot of people and to gain like a lot of perspectives and point of views from every single aviation industries.
I also had the privilege of going to a conference this summer. I went for OBAP this past August, and it was in NOLA. And OBAP always calls it a reunion. And it's all about just seeing the people you've met previous years, reconnecting, meeting new people. You talked about being like your authentic self. I feel like oftentimes, in a professional setting, I'm not able to be my true authentic self. And for the first time in a very long time, I was in a professional setting where I felt like I could be my true authentic self. I was not code switching. I could just be my true and authentic self. And I think it's something that a lot of minorities forget, how as an emphasis to be your true and authentic self. And just hone in on that and use that and use it to network and just feel comfortable. That was my second time attending OBAP, and probably the only place I'll ever see a large population of Black pilots. We all talk about the importance of going to other conferences, but I think it's great to just learn and take in the information that you learn at these conferences and bring it back to your school. What can you implement? Talk to the other collegiate chapters and oh, you guys are doing that and that's working for you. Okay, well maybe we can bring something to our campus and try to implement that as well. So I think it's just kind of being open and going to the conferences and willing to be a little bit vulnerable to kind of gather that information.
Yeah, I think, for me, I got the privilege to attend all of the conferences this year. Except for women aviation, I couldn't get off work that long for it. So, but, all the conferences, I think they have so much experience, it's kind of incredible. You're in a room full of so many experienced people and so many legacy, legend people. It's not just just a here and there pilot. It's oh, you are the first Black pilot. You are the first Black female pilot. I'm like, wow, I want to take a picture with you. You get kind of starstruck in a lot of these situations. But if you haven't been to any of these conferences, even if you're not of color or you don't identify with that affiliation, I would highly suggest you go, especially as students, because you make so much networking. That's something I totally regretted when I was not at UND. I felt at the time when I was at UND that going to a conference, I don't need to go to one. I'm not looking for a job now. But how all of them said, the networking is so incredible that it really helps. You meet all the panelists that was here today. I met all of these students because of conferences, to be honest. So just get out there, go to a conference, and experience it. You learn a lot, and then next thing you know, you want to go every year, because I realized I just love to dance, so that's why I really want to just go to OBAP and LPA every year. But I guess for the future, I guess I'm kind of wrapping it up, but we're all excited for the future, for the aerospace industry. What are you all excited to, for the future in the next 10 years? What are you looking forward to, especially, I guess, in the DE&I scenario, or where the industry is going with that?
Right, so 10 years time is kind of like a blink of an eye, what I've come to realize. But what I hope to see is I hope to see minorities, whether it be, like I said earlier, your identity, your gender, your ethnic background. I hope to see minorities in high places, in places that you can make real change. I hope to see minorities running diversity programs and being at the head of these diversity programs rather than what's been predominantly in the past. That's what I hope to see.
So I look forward to seeing a few things in a decade's time. The first thing I look forward to is, this sounds very simple, but being able to fly with someone that I can relate with, whether it be LGBTQ, Black, someone from PAPA, someone from LPA. Looking forward to flying with a diverse human being is something that could be really amazing in the future. As far as individuals like myself, I'm really looking forward to not being able to worry about outing myself to a community and having to worry about my job, worry what others are going to think of me in a professional setting. And I think over time that's something that will be resolved. And one other thing to point out that I would like to see in a decade's time, so this has a little backstory. So when I attended one of the conferences, I was able to sit in on a PhD speaking event, and one of the doctors had mentioned that it was about airline pilot shortages and crew shortages, and they had mentioned that a lot of, if not all of, professional pilots going into airlines are going to come through feeder programs. A couple examples of this would be Delta Propel, United Aviate, both amazing programs, both good at promoting diversity. But what I really look forward to seeing through those programs is how those partner universities are able to accept the challenge of promoting diverse students to apply to those programs. So that's really something I'm just trying.
I'd say I'd like to see a few things in a decade's time. It's not that much time, but it is time still to work with. I'd say here on campus, I hope to see just the numbers of diverse individuals increase and the retention rate also stay relatively close to that increase. I'd also like to see more, native students within our aviation program. We sit in North Dakota, we have a lot of reservations near. I hope to see that we're able to do more outreach and able to help get more Native Americans into aviation, trying to break down some more barriers that are currently here. I'd say on the big picture, I hope to see the industry become more accessible, and I mean in the sense of breaking down the barriers for mental health, also all the way up to making aircrafts, making more things regulatory when it comes to aircrafts. Most people don't realize that you cannot bring your own wheelchair onto an aircraft unless it's a long-haul flight. There only has to be one accessible bathroom, and I feel like that brings a lot of barriers for a lot of people that are use those mobility aids every day. I think we all take for granted being able to just walk on an airplane, sit down. It might be tiny, in the little 200s, it's a little tight, but we take that for granted as an everyday thing. So I hope to see some of these changes. They're not massive changes, but I hope to still see them in the next 10 years.
For me, as an international student, this question is quite tough for me to answer because the reality is it's so hard to get a job as an international student in the States. That's the reality. We have quite few ways to get a green card or working visas from the airlines, but there's no guarantee for us to stay in the United States after graduation. So for me, yes, I like to see more diverse and international community in the aviation industry, but at the same time, I like to see more opportunities for international students or people who are not from here, and then limited, and then having limitations by their nationality or gender or any creed, any obstacles. I like to see more open for everyone, regardless of the any obstacles that we have right now. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the industry just becoming what I would consider normal. Right now it's pretty much dominated by straight white male, and I'm hoping to, although I'm proud of being a female pilot, I'm hoping to no longer have people shocked about that. I think it's important that all of us as minority groups are just recognized as pilots, and it's not some rare thing that there's a female pilot or Latino pilot or something along the lines of that, as well as female pilots not getting mistaken as flight attendants, or male flight attendants not getting mistaken as pilots, just being more inclusive and accepting of who people are and what their jobs are.
Okay, so thank you so much for all of those answers. It's so great to hear, especially all of your perspectives. I really hope that the aviation industry keeps up, and you all are literally the future. I'm very proud of you, so don't let us down, no pressure. But in general, we would like to open up the floor to the audience. If I know, especially some of the industry people, you might have interesting questions, so please ask away to our student leaders.
Hi everyone. So when I was in flight school, we didn't have any of, I think we only had women in aviation, and there was 4 of us. So I don't know if you guys already had these affinity groups when you first got on campus, but if not, how did you go about starting one, and what did that process look like as you came to campus? Was the campus receptive to that, or what did that process look like for you?
I can speak on behalf of OBAP. We started in 2020, and the response we got was overall very negative from the greater community. I'd say for campus, very supportive. The community was, I almost want to use the word disgusted. They were appalled. They were like, why do you need to have an organization for black students? We need to have an all white male group. And I'm like, that currently is what aviation is. And it got to the point where, like, you know, there were filters that needed to be made on the post because they had gotten to the point where it was just derogatory. It was, you know, as a group there, most people that have left that started OBAP aren't here. They've moved on to the airlines or instructing at other places. And I think we can all agree it did get to a point where it became personal because people would, you know, message people, DM them personally, and like would just go on a laundry list. And I think it took a lot of support within our own group and really honing in on like, hey, you know, this, we all belong here. This, you know, there was an OBAP chapter previously on campus. It, you know, dissipated over the years. And it was a struggle, but I think, you know, overcoming that also then allowed to leaving a platform for PAPA to form and then LPA to kind of come after that and just, you know, continue to build. But it was definitely a hurdle, especially, you know, during COVID. We were doing everything online. And, you know, tensions were high, especially after George Floyd. There was a lot to be said. Most of it was not positive.
Good afternoon, Elliot Wilson with Alaska Airlines, and I'm also so proud of all the work that's gone into this day today. All the hard work getting all of us panelists out to Grand Forks. My question is, how can us in the industry, we got some managers of Delta, I'm with Alaska Airlines, how can we support your efforts here at North Dakota? Is there something specific I can take back to my team in Seattle? How from Seattle we can support your organizations here at UND? Because I feel like as an airline industry, we could be better to support collegiate aviation.
So, I guess I can take this question, but I think that the first thing that came to mind when you asked that question, EJ, was so because we're so new, these affinity groups and these organizations are so new here on campus, a lot of us are struggling to even like make it to events, right? A lot of us are struggling to make it to these expos, these different things, and really just give our members the experience that they kind of deserve. And I think that at the level that you guys are at, sponsorships, like really just sponsorships, and like having a sponsorship from said airline where I can now bring 10 more of my members to LPA Expo next year and have them experience what it's like to, you know, go there and have this networking and have this. I think that's where real change happens, and it's something that we've all the affinity groups have struggled with on campus is we don't have the funds, we don't have, and on that side we really don't even have the support from like aerospace. We really don't have the funds, and everything that we've kind of done has been on our own. So that would relieve a lot for sure.
And that's a good point. Funding is a big issue. Here at Grand Forks locally, there are limited options for us regarding volunteering and being able to raise funds for, say, Pop Brings, NGPA Expo, and other events like that. So sponsorships, I would definitely agree on.
Even something along the lines of a mentorship or just being here and willing to answer questions and be someone to reach out to, especially for a lot of us being first generation pilots, we don't really know what we're doing. So having someone in the industry already can definitely help us just kind of navigate it.
I feel like as pop-up president, I would say if we could have like opportunity for scholarships for each like individual groups, that'd be awesome because aviation costs a lot. And then like sometimes I have a couple of friends that they had to give up the aviation program because of the financial issues, and that's one of the obstacles that we shouldn't have, I would say. So and then like especially like everyone said, our group is like still like younger organizations, and then we need help like financially, and like mentorship is also a good one too. But I'd like to mention about the scholarships for each organization. that would be awesome. Thank you for the question.
So my name is Olivia Farnsworth. I'm a freshman here at UND, proud member of the NGPA. So I guess my question is, we've talked a lot about how we can support students from underrepresented groups once they're here. How can we make aviation appealing to these people, and how can we draw them in and get them interested in that in the first place? I'm just curious what your opinion is or input.
Yeah, so to answer that very simply, so we have these affinity groups on UND campus. So for example, we're a UND NGPA, the UND chapter, and that's where the national organization comes into play. We have the same core values: build, support, and unite the aviation industry. And with the growing membership, I believe that's how they can kind of work that through, is making the airlines more appealing. Airlines such as Delta, United, Horizon, Alaska, and all those other airlines going to NGPA events and other affinity group events is kind of the way they promote diversity in that sense. To my knowledge, at least. If y'all have something else to say, I'd love to hear it, but that's kind of where I would assume that stands.
I'd also like to add, I think also going to the industry events we have on campus, I said, going to that, listening to what these people from the industry who are currently in the industry are, what's happening, what's going on, what are changes. I feel like going to that as well as going to any of the affinity group, or even the non-affinity groups, whether it's SAMA or ASA, just getting involved and being able to listen and learn and go a little bit outside your comfort zone. I think as a freshman it's going to be advantageous. I think it's really just going to help open a lot of doors and a lot of connections. And I think once you're willing to kind of go to one and branch out, I think you're more likely to branch out in other ways.
And one more thing I'd like to mention. One thing I observe in, say, Palm Springs, for example, one thing that I've seen over time is it's not only students networking with airlines or students networking with their students, but we also see airline pilots networking with other airline pilots. And it's if you look at it from a certain perspective, it's almost like UND again, except we're all from different airlines instead of from different universities. So that's kind of how they seem to make it more appealing and seem to promote diversity. They create their groups and are able to bond with each other and find a sense of belonging outside of the university setting. So,
yeah, thank you so much. And how about a big round of applause for our students?